right. I'm so glad you all could join the session, and I'm really excited to partner with Elizabeth Lembke to share our story of how we have implemented design thinking for greater results as part of L&D Cares. I am Tina Bjork. My superpower or pseudonym is ad-lib because I like to improvise when we have ambiguous circumstances. Liz, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Lembke, and I'm ecstatic to be here together with Tina as we talk about the journey of L&D Cares. I am ad hoc. I am that piece to say, this is exactly how we planned it. Of course we meant it to go this way. So as we learn in learning, it's all about the debrief. If you can get a good debrief, your magic is there.
And Liz and I have been working so closely together over this last year and a half since we've been in this pandemic environment. And it's been the most interesting thing to collaborate with someone who, I'm in Southern California, she's in Germany, and we touch base and we work together several times a week as though we're working for the same company in the same building. And some of these collaboration tools and ideation tools that we're going to share today are really what has enabled such innovation to come out of our partnership and the broader community at large. So L&D Cares was really born out of this displacement and disruption that we're experiencing as an industry, talent and learning, really. And a number of talent and learning leaders came together at the start of the pandemic, led by Brandon Carson. And we came together to think through what we could do to help those in L&D skill themselves up or prepare or build their careers, or we didn't even know. We were just like, we know we want to help. We love helping people, and we truly do care. So we came together with a very ambiguous goal, and it has evolved and become an amazing thing. And I think had we not applied design thinking principles, we could have never achieved what we've achieved. So we wanted to share that story with you. L&D Cares is a fully volunteer organization. We're not selling anything. We each have our own gigs. I'm working at my organization. Liz is working at hers. It's a truly honeycomb effect of a network and community and a tribe of people that care and have come together to make a difference. So moving on, I want to share the agenda with you really quickly. We're just going to go through defining what design thinking is, just to make sure that we level set on our understanding of it and how we've interpreted it for our purposes. And then, of course, we want you to walk away with some practical tools that you might apply to your daily life, whether it's at home with your family or in the professional world. And I'm going to share a quick quote with you that design thinking is applied as an umbrella term for multidisciplinary, human-centered projects that involve research and rapid ideation or idea generation. And L&D Cares is a perfect example of that because we needed to be human-centered design at the core. That's why we came together. So, that was definitely a burning platform for us. Looking at the image below, IDEO is represented here. That's one of the thought leaders and certifiers of design thinking principles. And then you also have other organizations like Luma, who you can get design thinking practitioner certified through. If you're interested and maybe you have a basic level understanding but want a certification in your tool set, it has been really valuable for me as a learning professional and weaving this throughout my team's ideation, design, and even team building processes. So moving right along. I love this. It's a crossroads of innovation around desirability, feasibility, and vitality. Vitality meaning that you can grow from it. And like the pistachios, we had a lot of different nuts to crack. Who are we doing it for? And I love pistachios, by the way. What do they really want? And then what does good look like? I think sometimes we might ask ourselves, what do we want to do? Like what fulfills us and what do we want to do together? But it's more about what do the other people want and what do they need? So Liz is going to definitely peel back more of the layers on this, but before she does, these are kind of the 4 design thinking stages that we've applied throughout the process. I think sometimes this can be very linear, but other times you might need to go back as you're ideating and go back to empathize. So just understanding that this can also be a fluid process as you're prototyping and learning more. It's uncovered that maybe your problem needs to be better defined. So you go back to that stage. But in essence, all these pieces are there. So empathy is number one at the core of everything. Liz has some really great thought leadership behind this that she's going to share. Defining the problem. Do we even know there is a problem, and what is it? What is that? Ideating. So we have a lot of visionaries at the table as part of this organization that we've created, and we all have great ideas and needed a way to prioritize and narrow down those ideas. And design thinking tools really helped us do that, in addition to getting things early in front of participants, users, to prototype and test, and then continuously evolve and expand upon those things. And you might find that maybe you need to abandon something altogether because it's not adding the value that you had intended. Liz is going to talk about what I love, nail-biting moments that matter.
Because at the end of the day, it's always about how do we communicate. And I'm sorry, there's some pieces where you know you're nervous and you know that you're excited, and so that's why the term of that everyone understands are those nail-biting moments. So, and this is like what Tina said, you know, there could be things that you're interested in, but it could be a pain point for you in your function or your role. But if the person that you're trying to solve the problem for really doesn't give up, all right, you can fill in the blank there as you wish. That's really not the problem you should be digging into. So I like to compare it to what makes me happy, what makes me effective. If we ask, then we'll get insights. And so it could be a Friday night. You've had a long week. All you want is some great delivery that is there fast and it's delicious. Or it could be, okay, you are so looking forward to just going to a pub, doing an Irish quiz and getting some chicken wings and a beer. Or this could be your other Friday night scenario. Maybe you're out for a romantic evening, you have the full course meal, you really get to relax and connect. Okay, so those are all eating experiences, right? But it's really about what is the thing that that person really wants. That's going to be dependent. So it's really understanding what is really important out of those key scenarios is what's going to matter, because your experience in a pub is going to be very different than in a fine dining establishment in terms of how do you evaluate what great service and great food looks like. So as we go forward, this is why we like to say, what are those principles behind design? And this is that aspect of what does good look like for them? And so as you take this, kind of litmus test to say, okay, who are we designing it for and what would be important to them? So for example, if we're looking for a new job, what would a candidate want to hear from you as the employer when they're trying to discuss the role with them? Quite often, and particularly now, a lot of people are fully employed. Maybe they are looking to change, but one thing that they're really going to want to know is, why would a fully employed person want to work here? Why would they want to have this particular role? What are the things that you're going to be looking for to have happen over the next 6 to 12 months in order to be considered successful? So these are the things out of the perspective of the candidate that they're going to want to be knowing or asking. And so as you have these principles lined up, it really helps you guide your design process to kind of calibrate and say, where are we on that and how are we doing with that? Okay, so these are just a couple of examples as to how these principles can help in the design process to keep yourselves honest. I'll just put it that way. So this is why this aspect of out of the perspective, and these are the pistachio nuts from Tina around the who are we doing it for, what do they really want and need, and what great looks like. This is then going to bring it back home as we look to the work that you're doing. Okay, maybe in your L&D or you're in the innovation tech side. If you were to kind of look at your work that you're doing, how would you answer the following questions? what makes for a great, for example, L&D and Innovation Techfest? What would be the potential barriers for delivering on a great L&D and Innovation Techfest? Okay. And then the question builds upon those first two, which is, what are potential solutions to those barriers? And these three little questions really help you empathize and understand out of that different perspective, looking on what you're trying to accomplish. And this then helps because it helps you get clarity. So the principles guiding what you do and don't do, they really help give that clarity of, you have a why as to why this, not that. And this clarity helps you decide more around the how and the what, because you can use it as a little bit of a calibration point to say, and are we accomplishing our principles with what we're setting out to do? And so, for example, in our L&D Cares, the Career Growth Summit, we bring together L&D learning and talent job seekers. We bring together recruiters and sourcers. Oh, sorry, sorcerers. Yes, I'm sorry. I was about to say sorcerers. Well, we may bring those as well.
After a few beers at the pub crawl.
Exactly, after the pub crawl. And then we also have like our professional organizations and vendors in the learning and talent space together with our job seekers. And so it was this aspect of what can we do? And our principle behind this was talk with and not about. Because quite often these, you have the summits with each of these different pockets that aren't talking together. So here, one of our key aspects is if we're going to co-create, we need to get those stakeholders co-creating together in the room together.
So powerful.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, exactly. And it's powerful, and it's really so oftentimes it's really fun. And we were really noticing, and we'll go into it around like our evolution of what was important for that baseline setting. And then as we learned more from one another, really coming together. And this is where it was absolutely 100% those aspects around empathy. And so this looks like nice, all and cleaned up. Believe me, Tina, and I can say, this is not what it looked like at the beginning. But this is that aspect of understanding, who are we not, why us, what's our unique value proposition, and then say, what are the things that we want to do together. So in order to do this, we had to really understand who are our people. So we created multiple personas, which are basically empathy maps for, this one is, for example, a job seeker who's earlier in career, and they're currently employed. So this aspect of saying, okay, I'm making a transition. If I'm making a transition, that might look very different to someone who is completely new to the job market. So we did a couple of these personas and used those as design guideposts as we sought to understand and think about what would be the subjects that these particular personas would be interested in, and then use that to guide who we would have speaking and the themes that we would be then talking about. And this then goes to this really important point. As I said, the personas helped guide us as to what themes we would be taking, etc. But we didn't stop there. We crowdsourced and we said, this is what we're thinking, because this is really a kicker. This is a key principle, is that in design thinking is that the truth lies outside of the building. You have to test your ideas on real people. Okay, so this is that aspect of great foundations are wonderful for getting feedback and insights and ideas that you perhaps wouldn't have thought of before. And this then helps, and this is just an example of that ideation of how we came to uncover who we are as L&D Cares as a group. So Tina mentioned it here. The word together was our defining kind of focal point, but it took a couple of iterations before we could truly define who are we as comparison to others. What are our unique points? And how can we be that aspirational tribe, which really does bring unity in our community that people can continue to grow and thrive. And again, and so this is that aspect of design thinking. I mean, honestly, I'm not sure if Post-it really gets a lot of kickback on their stock, but certainly Post-it is very helpful. So these aspects of getting the different ideas out onto the board, getting the different perspectives, putting it in, and then combining this in this ideation process is amazing in terms of what can really come out as you use those different stages around empathy, defining, to ideation, to really kind of understand, okay, what is that unique approach and unique story that you want to bring to the table. This then comes into then different experiments that one can run and one does run. So you'll see on the top, and Tina can speak to this as well, these aspects of how we have our principles. So I just put those out here. This is an example from our career growth on the regular, one of the initiatives that we have, the career growth summits, where we had futuristic searchers, storytellers, open to work and open to learn. We had 4 days with 861 learning mavens from 49 different countries coming in and across all of these different communities for our last career growth. And one thing that we did also of this aspect of how can we give opportunity was this Welcome into the Awesome, where we welcomed 49 first-time speakers and many different people in the background learning how to do events. So these are just examples of how the prototyping of crowdsourcing in action works out. And you'll see a preview of where you may recognize ad hoc and ad lib in there as empowerment heroes as we look to our next Career Growth Summit 2.5 happening in September.
It really has been an amazing movement, and everybody is there and participating because they want to be. It's just, you know, they're not paying to be there. We're not paying them to be there. And we're just so grateful that we've been able to see the results and the outcomes that we have. And so just wanted to break those down. We've got a number of work streams, but these are 4 of kind of our core, which are our coaching cohorts that have been instrumental in helping to support people through a group coaching model. And since we launched in the summer of 2020, we've had 45% of those participating in these group coaching cohorts of career support placed in roles, which is really exciting. And not only that, but we've provided them with the confidence and the support to even in some cases pivot outside of learning and development roles. Maybe there's the broader talent space, maybe there's the innovation space. And so people have been able to open their eyes and through those connections, see the opportunities. Then the career growth streams, which Liz described, are really amazing in terms of the participation that they've seen, because we've been able to put those different personas together and figure out what it is that people really want. We were able to attract a great deal of participation, both from the participants themselves, but also, as you can see, the number of speakers that we've had on board to help us with this. And then from a collaboration standpoint, we collaborate with ATD through their coaching model. Their coaches who are gating accreditation hours are the ones that are working globally to coach our cohorts. And our Welcome into the Awesome that Liz talked about, which was so cool, seeing these first-time speakers really flourish through the coaching and mentorship that they were provided by our experts. Your Flock, which is a lot of activity-based and wonderful opportunities for our users, and then all the thought leadership that has come out of L&D Cares. So I know these are just numbers, but I think they tell the story of what an amazing movement this has become and how we've been able to iterate and as we go along, add more and more to our portfolio of offerings. So moving on, as we kind of close out the session, we wanted to recommend a few learning opportunities and tools out there. If your curiosity was piqued, if maybe you heard something that you're interested in learning more about, the Luma Institute published the Innovating for People guide, and I use that very regularly. If I'm trying to host a collaboration session or trying to crack the code on a problem, I'll pull out my toolkit and, kind of reference that. The idea that we are not design thinkers, we are design doers. And so there's a lot of literature on that. Game storming is something else to look into. And then Mural and Miro are two tools that we believe are robust and advanced enough to really do a whole host of things. You've also got Google Jamboard and some other things, but we've been able to use Mural very successfully. And then finally, if you're interested in getting involved and volunteering in any way, shape, or form, or you'd love to be a part of a coaching cohort to get support through a tribe, I will welcome you to go to our L&D Cares website or to our LinkedIn page, where you'll find a whole host of information about how to get involved.
So well said.
And that's my pitch, and I'm sticking to it. So go forth with your markers and your sticky notes and ideate and be great. Thank you again for joining our session. Liz, I think we have just a couple little words of wisdom to leave you with, because we can't go without that.
I can't go without that, exactly. So the words of wisdom from ad hoc are really looking at those nail-biting moments that matter. So really understand truly what is important to your audience, and use that as your guidepost as you ideate and as you look to what you're trying to accomplish.
Yep, and don't forget those 4 design thinking stages and that whole rinse, wash, repeat as those 4 stages evolve, right? It's all about design doing.
Oh, so well said. And these are those aspects of, design thinking really enables also co-creation, that the people that you're working together with, as you get those different voices in, it really is incredible as you generate, okay, what makes sense? What do we want to do? And then, is this fit for purpose? So with those aspects of do it to learn it, get involved, build that confidence while you're building the competence, because truly we are the honeycomb. And this is that the people you reach out with, the people you collaborate with, you will grow so much, and design thinking in these design processes can really help facilitate that. So have fun with it.
Yes, thanks for joining our session from Ad Lib and Ad Hoc. Have a lovely evening, day, morning, wherever you are.
I love it. Thanks, everyone.